He's just my spare tire. I regret every day with him. My wife laughed on the phone with her lover. So, I made sure tomorrow would be the day she remembers and regrets for the rest of her life. Tomorrow will be the last day you ever see me. I texted her after hearing the cruel laughter she shared with her lover. She thought I was weak, predictable, a man who would always surrender. But this time, I was already planning the moment she would never forget. My name is Carlos. I'm 34 years old, and until recently, I thought my marriage to Carmen was imperfect, but real. We lived in a small apartment in Madrid, near the Plaza Mayor, where the hustle and bustle of the city never rests. 7 days ago, everything fell apart. It was midnight and I was on the sofa, where I had been sleeping for months because, according to Carmen, I snored too much. I heard her low laugh from the kitchen. I thought she was talking to a client from her job in Barcelona. But then I heard, Carlos will do nothing. He is too predictable. He always has been. That word, predictable, pierced me like a knife. The next morning, during breakfast, Carmen dropped the bomb while calmly cutting an orange. I regret every day with you, Carlos. No tears, no explanation, just a flick of her hair and a glance at her mobile phone. I did not think twice. I took off my engagement ring, left it next to her coffee cup, and said, then let this be the last. I left without looking back, with the echo of her yawn following me as if I were a nuisance. I checked into a cheap hostel on the outskirts, El Sol Naciente, a place that smelled of damp and had curtains that did not close properly. I turned off my mobile phone. I did not want apologies or empty promises. I just wanted to disappear. But this morning, everything changed. Someone knocked on the door. It was not the receptionist with the watery coffee they offered for free. It was Lucia, Carmen's best friend, the maid of honor at our wedding 6 years ago. She entered without asking for permission, with her eyes red, as if she had been crying all night. Carmen is not who you think she is, she said. She is planning something, and, if you do not act quickly, she will destroy you. I did not understand. At first I thought she was exaggerating, that maybe there was infidelity, something that could hurt, but not surprise me. But Lucia was not talking about an affair. She took a flash drive out of her bag and gave it to me. Everything is here, she said. Bank transfers, messages, recordings. She is moving everything into her name. The joint account, the car, even the apartment you bought with your inheritance. I sat on the bed, stunned. Lucia continued. She has been talking to a lawyer. She wants to make you seem unstable, as if you were a danger. She says you are manipulative, that you have isolated her. Manipulative? Me, who spent entire nights apologizing for things I did not do, who bought her flowers when she yelled at me for forgetting to buy milk, who swallowed every argument so as not to lose her. I laughed, a bitter laugh, because it sounded absurd, but Lucia was not smiling. She told me about messages in a private WhatsApp group with her colleagues where Carmen called me her safety net, someone who would never suspect. In one, she wrote, when I'm done, he will have nothing. He will give up as always. I felt the air grow heavy, the hostel floor sinking beneath my feet. Why are you telling me this now? I asked. Lucia looked down. Because at first I believed her version. I thought you were boring, that you smothered her, but then I saw her laughing while she planned this as if it were a game. I could not stay silent. Before she left, she looked at me intently. Carmen thinks you will fall apart. Prove her wrong. I was left alone with the flash drive in my hand, as if it were a grenade. I did not want to open it, but I knew I had no choice. I connected the flash drive to my laptop. There were dozens of files, screenshots, PDFs, audio files. I opened one at random, a transfer of 5,000 euros from our joint account to one in her maiden name. The description said Lisbon Fund. Lisbon. We had planned to go there for our 5th anniversary. I had saved money, learned Portuguese phrases to impress her. She canceled the trip for work. Now I understood it was not work. Another file was an audio recording of a video call with her friends. Carmen was talking without knowing the microphone was still on. Carlos is like an old piece of furniture. Useful, but I do not want him in my new life. The laughter in the background chilled my blood. Then my mobile phone rang. Unknown number. It was a man, cold, professional voice. Carlos Sanchez. I'm calling on behalf of Carmen Delgado. We will send documents for the transfer of assets. Sign them and return them soon. I hung up without answering. I was not going to sign anything. Not this time. I called a lawyer I found online, Miguel Torres, a guy in his 50s who worked in a small office in Vallecas. I told him everything, sent him the flash drive. His response was direct. This is not just a divorce, Carlos. This is a war, and she does not know you have the weapons. That night in the hostel, I started writing, not a letter for Carmen, but a list of every sacrifice I made, every time I stayed quiet so as not to bother her, every moment I believed it was love when it was just her strategy. When I finished, it was 5 pages long. I sent it to Miguel. His response was an email with a single sentence. This is your truth. We are going to make it count. 2 days later, a white envelope arrived at the hostel. I saw it fall through the mail slot, sent by a courier who did not wait for a reply. It was from Carmen. I did not open it immediately. I knew that inside was her version of our story, written in legal language to erase mine. When I did, I found a no-fault divorce petition. It said that I was emotionally distant and negligent with household responsibilities. Every word was a lie designed to make me seem like the guilty one. But what hurt the most was one line. The spouse exhibits dependent behaviors, prone to resisting separation. As if loving her had been a crime. I did not fall apart. I took the envelope to Miguel, my lawyer. His office in Vallecas was an organized chaos with piles of papers and a humming fan. He read the documents, let out a dry laugh, and said, Carmen thinks you are a pawn. We are going to show her that the board is yours. He explained to me that Lucia's flash drive was pure gold, hidden bank transfers, incriminating messages, and an audio recording that showed Carmen's true face. But we needed more. She is playing dirty, Miguel said. We will play smarter. That afternoon I received a message from Lucia. Meet me in an hour. I have something you will not believe. I found her in a discreet cafe in Lavapiés. Without preamble, she passed me a tablet and pressed play. It was a recording of a video call between Carmen, an unknown man, and another who looked like a lawyer. Carmen spoke coldly. Carlos suspects nothing. Once the papers are ready and we make him look unstable, everything will be mine. The house, the money, everything. The man she called Diego laughed and said, he always gives up. The lawyer nodded. If you sign the emotional instability narrative, he will not fight. I felt nauseous. It was not just a betrayal. It was a plan to destroy my life. Lucia looked at me. That is not all. There is more. She took out a manila envelope and slid it towards me. Inside were screenshots of messages between Carmen and Diego, her ex-boyfriend, from before we were married. I thought she had left him behind, but the messages were dated from years ago. One said, Carlos thinks I'm in meetings when I'm with you. It is so easy. There were flight receipts to Barcelona booked under her maiden name, coinciding with the work trips she told me about. Each file was a stab in the back. Proof that my marriage had been a lie long before I knew it. Why are you doing this? I asked Lucia. She sighed. Because Carmen used me too. She made me believe you were the problem, but I saw how she planned this without remorse. I could not stay silent. She told me that Diego was not just an affair. They were planning to open a business together in Lisbon with the money Carmen was diverting. But the worst part was a line in an email. We have a therapy note that will make him look unstable. I had not been to therapy in years. It was a forgery created to seal her narrative. I went back to Miguel and told him everything. His usual calm disappeared. This is fraud, Carlos. She is not just robbing you. She is trying to erase your credibility. He started writing in a notebook, scribbling strategies. We are not just going to defend ourselves, we are going to counterattack. She does not expect you to have proof. He asked me to gather any documents I had, bank statements, receipts, even old emails. I spent the night going through my laptop, finding emails where Carmen asked me to handle the finances while she worked. Each one was another piece of her plan. The next day, Miguel called me. We found something big. The clinic that supposedly issued the therapy note confirmed it is fake, and a colleague of Carmen's is willing to testify that she helped her move money secretly. I felt a knot in my stomach, but not of fear, but of determination. For the first time, I was not the Carlos who apologized. I was the Carlos who was going to fight. The preliminary hearing was scheduled in a courthouse in the center of Madrid. I arrived early with a knot in my stomach, holding a folder with the evidence Miguel and I had gathered. Carmen entered minutes later, accompanied by her lawyer, a guy named Javier, who spoke with the confidence of someone who thinks he has already won. She did not look at me. She just sat on the other side of the room, checking her mobile phone as if this were just another meeting. Miguel, with his usual calm, whispered to me, "Let them think they control the game. Today they are in for a surprise." The judge, a man in his 60s with a deep voice, opened the session. Carmen's lawyer began by requesting the division of assets in her favor, claiming that I had been emotionally absent and that she needed financial support for the damage suffered. Every word was a distortion of our life together. I, who had worked overtime to pay for the car she wanted, who planned every anniversary dinner, was now the villain of her story. I held back, following Miguel's advice. Silence now, impact later. When it was our turn, Miguel stood up and placed a flash drive and a stack of documents in front of the judge. "We request to present evidence of hidden bank transfers, deceptive communications, and an attempt at defamation," he said in a firm voice. He handed over copies of Carmen's messages with Diego, her ex, where they planned to divert funds to Lisbon. Then, the audio from the video call where she talked about forging a therapy note to make me seem unstable. The judge reviewed the documents in silence, his expression growing more and more serious. Carmen turned pale. Her lawyer tried to interrupt, claiming the evidence was not authenticated, but Miguel cut him off. "We have a notarized statement from a colleague of Mrs. Delgado, who confirms her participation in the transfers. Also, the clinic that supposedly issued the therapy note has denied its validity." The room fell silent. For the first time, I saw Carmen drumming her fingers nervously on the table. Her facade of control was cracking. The judge looked up. "Mrs. Delgado, these are serious accusations. Do you deny the authenticity of these communications?" Carmen did not answer. Her lawyer asked for a recess, but the judge denied it. "We will continue. I want to hear from Mr. Sanchez." I stood up, my voice steadier than I expected. "I just want the truth," I said. "I have spent years trying to save a marriage that she had already abandoned. This evidence shows who has been dishonest." I did not look at Carmen, but I felt her gaze fixed on me, as if she could not believe that I, the predictable Carlos, was fighting back. The judge postponed the decision to review the evidence, but his tone made it clear that Carmen's case was faltering. As I left, Lucia was waiting for me outside. "You did well," she said, handing me another envelope. "This is from before, something you did not see." Inside were more messages, this time from Carmen to her cousin, Isabel. They said she had been telling the family that I had episodes, and that she feared for her safety. It was another layer of her plan to discredit me, to make sure no one would believe me if I spoke up. That night in the hostel, I received an unexpected call. It was Isabel, Carmen's cousin. Her voice was trembling. "Carlos, she told me you were out of control, but I saw the messages Lucia shared. I'm sorry, I should have never believed her. She told me how Carmen had woven a web of lies, convincing the family that I was the problem. But Isabel had found an old email where Carmen admitted to using those stories to justify her trips with Diego. I wanted you to know before it was too late," she said. I called Miguel immediately. "This does not end with the divorce," I told him. "She did not just rob me. She tried to erase who I am." Miguel responded in a serious tone. "Then we are not just saving your assets. We are saving your name." He asked me to collect any interaction with the family that could support my version. I spent hours reviewing old messages, finding emails where Carmen asked me to let her shine while I managed the finances. Each piece was another nail in the coffin of her narrative. The night before the final hearing, I barely slept. My head was spinning with the evidence. Messages, transfers, the audio of Carmen plotting with Diego. Miguel had prepared me, but the idea of facing her in court weighed on me. It was not just about the money or the apartment. It was about reclaiming my truth, about not letting Carmen rewrite my life. At 7 a.m, I received a message from Lucia. "Be careful. Carmen knows you have evidence. She is desperate." I did not reply, but her warning put me on alert. In the courthouse, Carmen was already seated with her lawyer, Javier, by her side. We did not make eye contact. The judge entered, the same one from the previous hearing, with a thick folder under his arm. The session began with Javier repeating his narrative, that Carmen deserved the majority of the assets for my lack of emotional support. But his tone was less confident, as if he knew the ground beneath them was shaking. Miguel stood up calmly and presented our case. "We have additional evidence," he said, handing over a new flash drive. It contained Isabel's statement confirming that Carmen had lied to the family about my supposed erratic behavior, and an email where she admitted to using those lies to justify her trips with Diego. Then came the final blow. Miguel presented a sworn testimony from Carmen's colleague, who confessed to helping hide bank transfers under pressure. He also showed a report from the clinic disproving the forged therapy note. "This is not just a marital dispute," Miguel said. "It is a deliberate attempt at fraud and defamation." The judge reviewed the documents, his expression growing increasingly tense. He asked Carmen, "Do you deny these accusations?" She looked down in silence. Javier tried to intervene, but the judge stopped him. "I want to hear from Mrs. Delgado." Carmen mumbled something inaudible, and her lawyer asked for a recess. Denied. The judge turned to me. "Mr. Sanchez, do you wish to add anything?" I stood up with a firm voice. "I just want the truth to come to light. I have spent years being loyal, working for a future she never wanted to share." For the first time, Carmen looked at me, and I saw something in her eyes. Not regret, but surprise, as if she did not expect me to have this strength. The judge nodded and announced that the final decision would be issued after reviewing all the evidence. But he warned Carmen that the fraud allegations could lead to legal consequences. As we left, Lucia intercepted me in the hallway. "It is not over," she said, handing me a new recording. It was a call between Carmen and Diego recorded by a friend of Lucia's. In it, Carmen said, "If Carlos fights, I will use Plan B. I have contacts who can make it look like he hid money too." I felt a chill. She not only wanted to strip me of everything, but also to frame me. I took the recording to Miguel that same afternoon. "This is dynamite," he said. "If she tries anything else, she is finished. But right now, we have enough to protect you." That night, I received an unexpected call from my brother, Miguel. We had not spoken in months. Carmen had sown doubts about me, even in my own family. "Isabel told me everything," he said. "I'm sorry I ever doubted you." He sent me emails that Carmen had sent him, insinuating that I was losing control. Each new piece of evidence was a reminder of how much she had planned to isolate me, but it also gave me strength. I was not alone. With Miguel, Lucia, and Isabel on my side, Carmen's web of lies was unraveling. The next day, Miguel called me. "The judge wants a private meeting before the ruling. This is unusual, but good for us. Carmen is cornered." I prepared myself for what was to come, knowing that I was not just fighting for my assets, but for my name, for the truth she wanted to bury. The final hearing arrived like a thunderclap. After weeks of tension, I entered the Madrid courthouse with a folder full of evidence, messages, recordings, statements that dismantled Carmen's castle of lies. Miguel, my lawyer, walked beside me, reviewing notes with the calm of someone who knows he has won the game. Carmen and her lawyer, Javier, were already there. She avoided my gaze, drumming her fingers on the table, a sign that her confidence was crumbling. The judge, with the same grave tone as before, opened the session. "We have reviewed the evidence presented by both parties," he said, glancing at a stack of documents. Javier attempted one last move, claiming the recordings were inadmissible and that Carmen acted under emotional distress. But Miguel stood up and, without raising his voice, slid a new envelope to the judge. This includes a sworn statement from a colleague of Mrs. Delgado, confirming her complicity in fraudulent transfers, and a forensic analysis that authenticates the recordings. Then he added the most recent recording, where Carmen talked about a Plan B to frame me. The judge listened to it in silence, his face impassive. "Mrs. Delgado," the judge said, "the evidence suggests a pattern of deliberate deceit, attempted defamation, and possible fraud. Do you have anything to say?" Carmen did not answer. Her lawyer stammered, asking for more time, but the judge cut him off. "Mr. Sanchez has presented sufficient evidence to question the validity of your claims." Then he turned to me. "Mr. Sanchez, do you wish to proceed with additional charges for the documentary fraud?" I looked at Carmen for a moment. Her eyes, for the first time, showed fear. "I do not want revenge," I said. "I just want what is fair." The ruling was clear. I was awarded the apartment, the remaining joint assets, and the right to recover any diverted funds. The judge warned Carmen that she would face an investigation for forgery and fraud if more irregularities were discovered. Javier tried to protest, but the judge silenced him with a look. As the session closed, Carmen stood up and walked out without looking back. Her lawyer followed her, muttering something I could not hear. That afternoon, I sat on the balcony of my apartment, the same one where Carmen and I planned a future that never existed. Lucia arrived with a coffee, a good one, not the watery one from the hostel. "Are you okay?" she asked. I reflected. "I think so," I replied, not for winning, but for not letting her erase me. She told me that Carmen had tried to contact her, asking her to explain the recordings as a misunderstanding. Lucia ignored her. "Her game is over," she said. Days later, I received an email from my brother, Miguel. It included an apology for having believed Carmen's lies and a file, a message from her to the family, admitting that she had exaggerated to protect herself. It was her last maneuver to save face, but no one believed her anymore. Isabel, her cousin, also wrote to me offering support and confirming that the family now saw the truth. I did not celebrate. I did not feel joy, only relief, as if I had dropped a weight I had been carrying for years. Carmen thought I would give up, that I would sign her papers and disappear, but she underestimated someone who, for the first time, decided to fight for his truth. Now, as I rebuild my life, I know that it is not about not falling, but about getting up. If you are watching this and feel that someone is trying to rewrite your story, do not stay silent. The truth, even if it hurts, is your strongest weapon.